Hey guys, hey everybody. Today I'm going to go ahead and start the 3 out of 3 the video, kind of trio I was doing, and I'm going to finish this up with predatory nature, predatory behavior. So I kind of went in through, Hume's the shadow archetype, and then into dark psychology, which now leads us into predatory nature, predatory behaviors. So before we really jump into it, I just want to go through a couple things, just a couple, quick tips, pointers here. Basically, people have a misconception that, predators, whether they be, emotional predators, sexual predators, physical predators, anything of that nature, that they should be, very easy to spot. Or, we tend to have this misconception like, oh, they're monsters, I can spot them, right well, when in actuality, it's quite different. No, you can't. But basically, society, it's pretty much just distortion and denial, that really stops us from noticing these type of predators. We're not prepared to accept the evil, so we chalk it up as just kind of maybe odd or off, behavior, things like that. But the fact of the matter is that predators do live and walk among us, and that they have learned to adapt and deflect, their suspicion and behavior perfectly. Okay. But like I said, not all are totally deranged. But they are very morally deviant. Very morally deviant. They straight up have a callous disregard for another's will. Really, or anything else about them. It's a lot like a sociopath. They can very quite charming and manipulative. And so what they do is they will sort of troll so they can seek opportunities, their prey, their victim. So what they tend to do is they tend to, maybe go into jobs or something like that, where they can prey unknowingly, and 9 times out of 10, a predator will spot you before you ever spot them. Okay. So just, basically they enjoy the lack of accountability for any of it. They get away with their acts because they've learned how to perfect their mistakes, and they kind of tweak their behavior, and so they can kind of master this perfect, facade, like Bundy. It's, one of my favorite serial killers that, mentally I like to investigate, but that's a primary one right here. But basically in the event, that you're faced with a, predatory behavior, a predatory person, just be leery of props, like casts or, smiles or, just too chipper, too friendly, too, flattering, things like that. Take heed of anyone that's too perfect. Because if something usually seems too good to be true, it probably is. But basically, these people learn to hide their dark side well. So they can be anyone who they want, or who they want to be. So ask questions. They hate when you ask questions, so be nosy. And basically, know what your triggers are. Know what maybe you're a little naive about or sensitive about. Like, know your feelings, because that's what they prey on first. Is they try to get that idea of you, and then they'll unknowingly kind of ask questions where you have no idea what they're up to, but they already know. All right. So basically in a short amount of time, anybody can be duped. Anybody. It's not that hard. All right. So let's just kind of, go ahead and jump into it. Okay. So basically predatory nature, predatory, individuals, they love power. So what is power? Power is the ability to control another's behavior against their will. And there's 2 types of predators here. There's your, emotional predators, and there's also your physical predators where, sexual predators fall in here as well. Emotional attacks are really messed up because they are very, very, very deceptive in nature. These acts can be done in plain sight, or they can be done in hiding. Some experience or some examples of this would be like, over sweetness and, just kind of like, oh, I really like you. I'm over enthusiastic about you kind of thing. Take heed of that, okay? And a big tip here is a lot of people overlook this because it's almost like blind trust. It's that charm, it's that superficial charm, that manipulative nature, and predators have this jacked up mentality that they are all powerful. So an important key issue here is to remember that if you find yourself, in contact with this predator, the predator will then attempt to show the victim how powerful he really is by overpowering them. And that's what he loves. He loves that. Basically, the predator has control at all times. So let's just jump right into the MO. Okay, predatory nature, predatory behaviors. The first initial important fact here is that these attacks are premeditated. They are highly planned. They are very methodically carried out, planned. These are not something that are spur of the moment. You know, and I can't stress this enough. You know, they will find their prey, their target, you know, and they will hunt them, you know, more or less. And basically they take into account how they can manipulate that person and everyone else around them. So this is something that has been ongoing, you know, for a long time. You know, they plan on how to isolate the prey, you know, their target, that sort of thing. It's very meticulous, very thought out. They often use control methods such as, you know, keeping a victim hostage. You know, weapons, physical weapons, threats, drugs, alcohol, maybe, you know, they drug the victim, things like that. Deception to make, in this case, they kind of switch it around on the victim and make the victim think it's their fault that they're being treated this way, which is really jacked up. But basically, you know, a couple other things to remember here is that most predators, not all, but most, enjoy the violence. They enjoy the violence. They enjoy, you know, that sense of control that, oh my gosh, you know what? You don't have anything for power because I control you now. And that's horrible. So, you know, basically the predator's main upper hand is the key component here is a person's trusting nature. And I'm kind of that way. I'm a very, very trusting person. You know, so, you know, back in the day, yeah, I probably would have been a victim, you know, sad to say. But anyway, so I can't stress that enough. Predators, the goal here is to take the security, the comfort, and the trust away from the victim. You know, and a lot of times these men or these people tend to be, you know, sociopathic or they have psychopathic traits. True narcissists as well fall in this category. They show no remorse, no guilt. They have no empathy. What the predator wants is the most important objective, the most important thing that is going on at that point. It's all about the predator. You know, and so basically they're corrupt in their thoughts, their actions. They're very deviant. They have a grandiose, you know, sense of self, you know, image. And, you know, basically they are not insane. Contrary to popularly, predatory nature, predatory people are not insane. Predators, you have to remember, they know what they are. They choose to be what they are. And that's very, very sad to, you know, have to think about it that way. But, you know, anyway. Next portion here I'm going to go into is, you know, lies, deceptive nature. Everything about them is pathological. Everything's a lie. You don't know what to believe in, nor should you believe any of it because it's all bullshit. You know, basically, they're masters at manipulation, master manipulators. They have had years and years and years to perfect, you know, how they are and things like that. And so then when they learn from the mistakes, but one thing you have to watch out is that predators, whether you notice or not, they're always lurking. They will always be around and they're always about 10 steps ahead. You know, so keep that in mind. Predators, they're able to maintain this facade for weeks, months, even years. Like, you know, isolation is a very powerful component that, you know, predatory individuals, you know, like to use. It's a source of power for them. The isolation can occur anywhere, you know, especially for their victims. They like to keep them, you know, privately away. Their public persona. Oh, I don't want to go here, but I'm going to. Okay, basically they have a very engaging personality. You know, they're a giver. They're very, you know, can I help you with this? Can I help you with this? You know, they're friendly and they smile and, you know, they're the coolest fucking person around. And try again. Okay, all of these traits, these characteristics are what allows a predator to hide in plain sight because they're masked as normal. Okay, normal, how we, you know, would think normal people are. You know, and that sort of thing. But basically, rejection and being rebuffed, you know, especially with sexual, you know, predators, things like that, they cannot be rejected, nor will they tolerate it. You know, they will often, you know, have this delusion. They insist that there's, you know, similarities, you know, something between themselves and the victim, and there's not. You know, being rejected enrages them. You know, it's a blow to their ego. You know, they don't like to be denied. They become very threatening, you know, and violent. They're also very detached, you know, from reality. You know, their reality is not subjective. It's a delusion. None of it's real. You know, but basically a lot of this I've noticed too with, you know, predatory individuals, especially predatory men, is that they have been victimized themselves, as children. And a lot of men that have had, you know, habitual incarceration periods tend to display most of these traits. So ladies, keep your eyes out for that. You know, the next thing they'll do is they will terrorize. Okay. They delight in terrorizing their victims as they get off on it. Like that's, you know, sexual to them. You know, and that sort of thing. They like to keep trophies, you know, to kind of say, ha ha, look what I did, you know, and I'm not going to get caught. I'm not going to have the blame, you know, or, you know, so on and so forth. So they kind of relish in that a little bit, you know, like I'm not caught yet. Ha, catch me if you can, kind of thing. But like I said, you know, predators choose to be what they are. They love pain. They are spineless, cold, calculating, very, very callous people. Basically, the whole mentality of a predatory individual is that the ends justify the means. And that's a horrible way to look at it. They have no care in the world how they impact the victims at all. They could give a shit less, you know, and generally something like this, you know, will kind of start out, especially like, okay, I'm going to use this example. I wasn't going to go here, but I'm going to. Someone who isn't me, Swim, you know, excuse me, you know, more or less kind of, you know, rekindled or kindled, you know, this relationship with a certain individual, you know, and things over time just started not adding up. But when you really think about it, people that maybe this girl did not know, you know, people were coming out of the woodwork warning her that, hey, look, you know, you may not want to involve yourself with this individual, you know, they're not a good person, you know, so it's kind of like they're not really snitching. They're just kind of, you know, like a hookup. They're like giving you a heads up, like, look, I wouldn't do it, you know, kind of thing, like just a word of caution, you know, and that's real sad. You know, I don't think that anybody should have to deal with it, but in actuality, you know, we deal with it every day. But basically something, you know, a couple other things I just kind of want to get through here, is that, you know, predators hide their dark side so well that at certain times, I don't want to say they get confused, but they can almost blur the lines between who they really are in this facade that, you know, they are portraying themselves to be. And that in and of itself, that's a little scary for me. I don't know about y'all, but, you know, I don't really dig that. But I do love psychology, so, but anyway, you know, a couple other things here. They're always on the prowl, 24/7, always trolling for victims. They have no regard for feelings. So what I can tell someone is that the best way to keep your guard up, obviously, is keep a little bit of a guard up, ask questions. Know your weaknesses, know your weak spots, know, you know, if you're kind of a little naive, like I'm kind of like that with some things, you know, and I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve, you know, take off those rose-colored goggles, you know, and don't always try to see this silver lining because, you know, that silver lining on that cloud might just be, you know, what makes or breaks you. So, but, you know, a couple other things, just basically, they will talk fast, you know, they'll kind of confuse you, you know, and so you don't really have time to stop and ask questions. And you're like, okay, well, did they say this or did they say that? Well, I don't know. And so then it just kind of, that's another way they kind of dupe you with, you know, the mind game. So a lot of this stems, you know, with psychopathy, sociopathic traits. And a lot of these men tend to be emotional and manipulative, the emotional and manipulative, you know, traits that they have. And a lot of this, like I said, did stem from childhood. You know, maybe they've witnessed something in the family. I'm not going to always say the mother, but generally with men, it's something that has to deal with the paternal side. So I'm talking more or less kind of like the dad or the grandpa, brother, or something like that. But anyway, you guys, as always, thank you for joining, and join me tomorrow. We're going to have another great discussion then. Okay, bye.